Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of All Queued Up, your review podcast tied to streaming services like Netflix, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, Disney Plus, and you know the rest. I'm your host, Greg Dietz, and with me always is Maya Don Fisher. How's your week been?
Well, my week's been pretty good until the past 36 hours, and when it just progressively got shittier and shittier. I'm sick for the first time in over 4 fucking years.
Ugh.
It sucks. My kid went back to school for the first time since March of 2020 when the pandemic first started. And I'm sorry, schools are just fucking petri dishes of fucking sick. And she brought home a head cold, and she had it last week and the first part of this week, and now here it is. I've got it, and it sucks.
Yeah.
Other than that, the week's been really good. I binged watched the shit out of Cobra Kai season 5, which I know you have no interest in, but I binge watched it and loved every fucking moment of it. It was fantastic. Highly recommend that for everybody out there who's not checked out Cobra Kai. Check it out.
I'm very much in the very small minority that does not enjoy that show.
Yeah, and that's okay. You know, I tried to watch Thor: Love and Thunder. Well, I did watch Thor: Love and Thunder, and I didn't care for it. Which sucks because I've tried to get into Taika Waititi's stuff. And just something about his brand of humor, it just doesn't land for me, and it just is off-putting, and I can't do it. And it sucks because I love Thor. Thor is one of my favorite heroes. And Thor 2 is my favorite Thor movie. Love it. And I know I'm in the minority on that.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of people's least favorite Thor movie.
Which it's really funny because a lot of people didn't like Love and Thunder for completely different reasons than you. And like the biggest complaint that I always hear about Love and Thunder from these same people is like, oh, it's they're making a joke of Thor or something to that effect. And I'm like, the comics made a joke of Thor quite a bit. But sure, go ahead and say that. Suddenly people are just like, man, Dark World was like the best Thor movie. And I'm like, y'all change your fucking your tone real quick when you don't like the new one, the new thing. Because before that, you didn't hear a single person say that. Like when Ragnarok came out, not a single person said, well, I mean, maybe not a single person, but not very many people on the internet said that Dark World was their favorite Thor movie.
Yeah, there are very few people other than me that'll say that.
Well, you say that for the same reasons that I understand it, and that's that Thor: The Dark World is the closest to the comics that you can get.
Yeah. Although I did enjoy the Mighty Thor stuff, and I didn't flat out hate Love and Thunder. I actually prefer it a little bit over Ragnarok.
I thought you would. I genuinely thought you would.
But that doesn't mean I actually like loved it or anything. The parts that I found good were the stuff involving him and Jane and her being the Mighty Thor. And the fact that every time she used the power, when she would revert back to human, she was that much closer to death because it was essentially undoing her chemo treatments and causing her cancer to get progressively worse, like in the comics. I'm just sad that she only lasted one movie. Spoiler alert, she dies. Well, as Thor is what I mean.
Well, I'm even saying well on that too, because first off, we know Marvel comics. We know we've read them growing up consistently. They'll find a way to bring a character back. They don't.
Yeah.
And then there was
I think her character arc was what, a little over a year, like 16 months. I think it was. She was the Mighty Thor before they killed her.
In the movie?
No, in the comics.
Oh yeah, in the comics, yeah. I was like, the movie. It was like what, a week?
Yeah.
But
But yeah,
Yeah.
picked up the new Fallout RPG. Um, like similar to D&D, except it's set in the Fallout universe, the Fallout video game universe. I'm very excited to delve into that and see what it's all about, and maybe we can play that sometime soon. Um, of course, played D&D, our weekly sessions this week. Had a great time. Oh my goodness, did we laugh and laugh and laugh?
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's good. It's fun so far.
Other than me coming down with a head cold, no, it's not COVID. I don't have a fever. I don't have a cough. I'm congested. I'm a little stuffy. But it's not a cough. It's not in my chest. It's not in. I didn't sleep great the past few nights, but I could be worse.
Yeah.
So it's an annoyance. It's an annoyance, but it could be much worse. How's your week been?
It's been fine. I mean, I know I've said this already, but like I need to. My boss sucks. My new job is just it's not good for a lot of reasons, but so when I have days off, I'm all excited about them. My folks and I watched what movie was that? It just came out. I think I messaged you about it. What the fuck was it? Why can I not remember the name of the movie that we watched?
I can't think of it either, and you messaged me.
Yeah. I'm scrolling through our messages because wow, I genuinely don't remember. I know Morbius came to Netflix.
Yeah, I tried to watch it. I made it about 2 seconds in. I said, "Nah, fuck this." Literally 2 seconds. I was like, "No, I can't. I can't."
I got to the part where you mentioned how you hated the screaming goats, and I knew you were going to. Yeah, that's terrible. That I'm just drawing a blank on the movie. I mean, that tells you how fucking
Forgettable it was.
Moonfall. That's what it was. Moonfall. Jeez Louise. So, how do I describe Moonfall to anyone who hasn't seen it? Have you seen a Roland Emmerich disaster movie?
Oh yeah, that.
There's
Where
a
the
lot of
moon
moments.
is literally falling.
Yeah, so the moon is. I mean, I don't want to spoil it for anyone else to see it because it's it just came to streaming and it was just left theaters a couple months ago. So I'll hold off on spoiling it. But what I will say about it is that it is like you have to suspend your disbelief. The same stuff that you watch when it comes to Armageddon or
Impact or
yeah, just throw that out. Just enjoy it for what it is, which is like if Fast and the Furious was a disaster movie. That's how I'll put it. So,
I really enjoy Armageddon actually.
The problem that I had though was before we started watching it, I had suggested it, and I put it on the TV, like just the screen before hitting play, and my dad goes, "I've seen this movie," and I was like, "How?" It literally just came to streaming like 2 days ago. And he goes, "I don't know, but I've seen it." And I was like, "Dad, it was in theaters exclusively 2 months prior to it coming to, I think, Peacock. I don't remember what service. It might have been HBO Max. Peacock. And he goes, "I don't know. It just seems super familiar. I guess I did, but I don't know." And I was like, "You haven't seen this movie. I 100% assure you have not seen this movie." I was like, "Okay." Mom comes into the living room after like getting something to eat or whatever, and she goes, I start playing the movie, and she's like, "I've seen this. I've watched this movie." And I'm like, "You haven't." I was like, Did you watch a disaster flick where the moon is crashing into the earth 2 days ago?" And she goes, "No." And I was like, "Then you haven't seen this movie." "Well, how do you know?" "Because it came to streaming services 2 days ago." And she was like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Mom, I'm 100% positive. This movie just came out." And she goes, All right. I mean, I could have sworn that it was that I'd seen it, and I was like, you haven't seen it. So we start watching it. We're about 15 minutes in, and both of them go, "Oh, we haven't seen this one. We thought it was a different movie." Clearly, I'm glad you clarified, though. Appreciate that. So that was that. But no, the past few days have just been me like catching up on Critical Role, listening to that podcast because I was behind like a few episodes.
Yeah.
And just kind of relaxing and not doing much. I mean, yeah, we did D&D Monday and Tuesday, which was fun. But I'm sorry, a little sleepy. And then today, as of recording this, the new season of Fall Guys came out, and if you're a longtime fan of the podcast, you know that I love Fall Guys, so I'm super happy that it's got new content.
Yeah, we were actually playing for a couple hours before we recorded.
Yep. And I'll be getting food and then hopping right the fuck back on later. But yeah, so that's that. Nothing substantial this week. But anyway, so we got, we're going to talk about because we've been talking about it for the past couple weeks. I got to remember the actual number of the episodes.
Third episode of the Lord of the Rings: Rings of Power.
Yep.
The fourth episode of House of the Dragon, and the fifth episode of She-Hulk Attorney at Law.
Yep. And we're going to go in order of release. So we're going to start with Rings of Power.
Yeah. This episode was titled Adar. And the synopsis here on the old Wikipedia is Galadriel and Halbrand are picked up by a ship captained by Elendil, who takes them to Numenor, the island kingdom ruled by men. Relations between the island and the elves have grown strained, and Queen Regent Muriel denies Galadriel's request for a ship back to Middle-earth. Galadriel visits Numenor's Hall of Lore with Elendil and discovers that the Mark of Sauron is actually a map of the Southlands where a new realm for evil forces is planned. She also learns that Halbrand, who is imprisoned after fighting some Numenorians, yeah, there we go, Numenorians. Took me a minute, but I got it, Numenorians. See? Fuck you. Is the king of the Southlands. As the Harfoots prepare for their seasonal migration, the stranger is revealed while trying to read some star maps. He comes with them as they migrate, pushing Nori's wagon since her injured father is unable to. Arondir has been captured by orcs and taken to a construction camp, digging underground passages so orcs can travel during the day. His elven compatriots have also been captured and are killed during an escape attempt. Arondir is taken to the leader of the orcs, Adar, which they speculate to be one of the names of Sauron. Who speculated that? Because nobody speculated that. I think that was just added into the synopsis there.
It really was. It really, really was. Where are you getting your synopsises from, just out of curiosity?
Wikipedia.
Oh my god. Why are they so awful?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say for the most part, like the most memorable aspects of this episode were Galadriel like figuring out that it was a map. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like the stuff with the other guy that, like the human that was with her on the boat.
Elendil. Oh, Halbrand.
And him like dealing with the assholes in Numenor.
Yeah.
Like I was like, it's all right. Like it was fine. But like the part at the end with our elf that got captured and him trying to fucking escape with the other elves, I was like, this is dope.
Here's something that this synopsis didn't even mention. Elendil, the captain of the ship that picks up Galadriel and Halbrand, turns out he's got a pair of children. Actually, a trio of children, but we only see the pair, but a brother is mentioned. But one of them is Isildur, which is very important. If Lord of the Rings fans will remember Isildur in the Fellowship of the Ring at the beginning, he was the person who actually cut the one ring from Sauron's hand and kept the ring for himself when when what's his name? Jesus, Elrond.
I was
Elrond
like,
was
okay, I'm
telling
not sure who you're trying to
Elrond
think of.
Elrond was telling him to throw it into the volcano, and he kept it for himself. Isildur did.
Ah, okay.
And
Are
then
we
when he
sure it's
was,
the same as Isildur?
yes,
Because isn't that a man? Like, how does he live that long? Oh, because of the ring, huh?
yeah,
Gotcha.
and when Elrond is telling Gandalf, he was like, "I was there 3,000 years ago when the ring was supposed to be destroyed, and Isildur kept it for himself." You know, we're essentially at the end of the second age, and this is getting ready to birth the third age. I'm assuming is how
Yeah,
this is set up.
that's what I've gathered as well.
But yeah, so we're introduced to Isildur. Um, somebody brought up something, and I can't remember if it was you that brought it up or if it was Mark that brought it up. But like, we're focused on this one supposed wizard that a lot of people theorize that could be Gandalf. You think it could be Radagast, but there were 5 different shots showing 5 different distinct locations of the meteor, for lack of a better term.
I don't think they were different. I don't think they were the 5 wizards that fell. I don't think that's what that is.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. But it is something to mention that there is a theory out there that it was 5 different locations, and we only see one of them actually make landfall. But it could be all 5 wizards are here. Who knows? Uh, there's a lot to speculate about because yes, while this is drawing from uh, things from uh, the Silmarillion is not what this is being uh, adapted from. This is being adapted as a prequel to the movies.
Right.
Uh, so yes, there is lore they can pull from, but there's also liberties that they can take. So it's cool to theorize and wonder what's coming next. Because from my knowledge and reading up on entries about Sauron, Adar was never a fucking uh, one of the named aliases of Sauron.
Right.
So there's a lot of things out there that you can go and check out. But the episode itself was really fucking good.
Yeah, it's really solid. Like, I enjoy it more than I thought I was going to. Um I'm just like, I wasn't really super invested in the one elf who has a skin color that pisses off an entire group of the fan base because they're stupid and racist.
Oh,
Um,
Arondir?
Arondir, I can't remember the name. I didn't want to say the black elf because that just feels wrong. But he like, what's going on with him was so much more interesting this episode than previously. Like, him dealing with the caverns and stuff like that, I thought, oh, he's just kind of a side character to let us know like how that's going down. And then we get this situation. I was like, okay, we're far more focused on him than we were. Far more focused.
Yeah,
So I'm way more invested in him than I was previously. Is my point.
yeah. And somebody, I can't remember who it was. It may have been Screen Crush with Ryan Airy. He's got a video talking about how the Southlands is what eventually becomes Mordor. So it's like we're seeing the early stages of Mordor being created in this concentration camp type thing, this construction camp that he's imprisoned in. Because you saw when he got to the top and he was looking around, it was very desolate and bleak looking.
Yeah.
Like they have fucked it up. Think how Isengard was looking when Saruman was fucking it up and having the orcs and the Uruk-hai fucking just ravage the landscape and cut down all the trees, and similar to that.
Yeah.
No
I think
dwarves
also.
this episode, though.
What's that?
No dwarves this episode.
No, I was a little disappointed in that. Oh, I was gonna say also somebody posted online and made me laugh that a bunch of people are irritated that this show isn't following Tolkien's like vision or whatever. And someone goes, "We watched an entire scene where a elf was like crying over a tree that was about to get cut. If that isn't the most fucking Tolkien thing that there is, I don't know what is Tolkien then." I was like,
yeah, you're not wrong.
So, let's go ahead and give a grade to it, and then.
I give this episode a solid A. It is very well structured, very well done. It keeps me wanting more, and I can't wait until the next episode. The acting is wonderful. The cinematography is just gorgeous. This series is getting high marks from me so far, and so far they've not given me a reason not to. But yeah, I'm fucking digging it. What about you?
Yeah, no, it's a solid A. Like I look forward to this more than I do, which we'll talk about next.
House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon. And I think like both are fantasy based, which is why I kind of put them in the same camp. But I think one of the reasons is that this story is telling something more fascinating than previous than like the than the other fantasy show that we're watching weekly. So yeah, I like. I'm really interested to see what happens to. Again, I'm not going to remember his name. The elf,
Arondir.
Arondir. I'm really interested, like, because Galadriel and Elrond are two characters that we know pretty well. They're at the end of everything that happens with the One Ring, and from the beginning of it to the end of it, and their story is fucking interesting. I really hope this next episode we get Elrond with what's our elf name?
Celebrimbor. Oh, the dwarf Durin.
Durin, thank you. Because Durin's fantastic, so we need more of that. But yeah, it's an A.
Hell yeah.
So next is House of Dragon, as we were kind of mentioning.
Yeah, House of the Dragon, episode 4, King of the Narrow Sea, is the episode title. Another time jump. As we saw in episode 3, Lady Alicent was extremely pregnant with a second child, and her first child, it was his second birthday during the whole King's Hunt thing. Now in this episode, she's not pregnant, and they allude that another year has passed. So essentially, from the start of this show to where it picked up to this episode has spanned almost 4 years, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it opens up with Rhaenyra at Storm's End, where she meets and rejects countless suitors. She returns to King's Landing just as Prince Daemon arrives from the Stepstones on his dragon Caraxes. Daemon says he was named King of the Narrow Sea, but swears allegiance to King Viserys and gives the king his crown. As the reunited brothers celebrate at a feast, Queen Alicent confides her loneliness to Rhaenyra, who misses their friendship. Late at night, Rhaenyra, disguised as a page boy, sneaks out with Daemon to explore King's Landing. They drink, attend a bawdy play, and visit a brothel where Daemon seduces a willing Rhaenyra but abandons her before they have sex. Returning to the Red Keep, Rhaenyra seduces Sir Criston. A spy informs Sir Otto about Daemon and Rhaenyra's exploits. Alicent, overhearing Sir Otto telling the king, privately questions Rhaenyra, who denies having had sex with Daemon. The king angrily confronts Daemon, who seemingly confirms the accusations and proposes that he wed Rhaenyra. Viserys claims Daemon only wants the marriage to gain the crown, then exiles his brother back to the Vale. To avoid scandal, Viserys orders Rhaenyra to marry Sir Laenor Velaryon. The king dismisses Sir Otto as his hand at Rhaenyra's insistence, feeling that Otto has manipulated him for personal gain. The king has Grand Maester Malos give Rhaenyra a precautionary tea, which, he says will cause any unwanted consequences to go away. So he's basically a brooder abortion potion. But yeah, that's the synopsis, the rundown for pretty much everything that went on in this episode. Yeah, that scene with Daemon and Rhaenyra in the brothel making out was ew.
Yeah. I gotta. I said to my dad, I was like, "Well, it wouldn't be um Game of Thrones without a little bit of incest."
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
was just like, "There's incest," because he has never watched the other series, so
Oh, he's never watched the original. Oh,
no.
okay. Yeah, I was telling you right before we recorded. I saw this great fucking meme, the one from Leo DiCaprio, where you said it was from The Wolf of Wall Street, where he's sitting in the chair and he's got a beer and a cigarette in his hand. He's pointing at the TV like he recognizes something. I saw a meme that they had photoshopped Jamie Lannister's head onto his body, and it says Jamie Lannister watching episode 4 of House of the Dragon, and I was like, oh, that's great.
Yeah. No, this episode was far more interesting than the past 3 to me. I think it had more kind of intrigue in a way than than the show had previously shown us. Especially when it came to the intricacies of the family dynamic of royalty in this particular thing, and it was nice to see what's her name? It was Rhaenyra's best friend, now the king's wife,
Alicent.
Alicent. It was nice to see Alicent take on more of a power role, if you will.
Yeah.
Like I'm also really enjoying the time hopping or the fast forwarding through time, because there are a lot of moments in Game of Thrones that happen so fast and back to back that it just wouldn't feel right. Like, I think one of the things that we have talked about with Game of Thrones in the past is how people get from this city to this city in the span of a couple days when it would take like a week, maybe more. But this show doesn't have to worry about that because it just moves forward. It just goes. So I'm a big fan of that. But yeah, I don't know. Like, this episode really had me like way more than the past ones.
I don't need to see King Viserys naked having sex anymore. With all those nasty spots of infection, the pus oozing out, and this fucking. He needs to stop sitting on that throne. It's killing him.
Well, I think that's the point for
Yeah,
us, for an
yeah.
audience to know that. That being said, I don't think we need to see any of them have sex for as long as we did. Like, I get that it's Game of Thrones and they're kind of going to do that, but come on. Like, it was so long. I was like, oh my God, the scene is just going on and on and on and on. I even had time to make the joke to my dad. I was like, boy, this got really awkward watching this with you. And he starts laughing. Like, I don't know. It can get to be too much, you know? So, and I normally like don't care about sex scenes. I normally don't let it like bother me. So,
Yeah.
but here it was a bit much.
No, I agree. I'm like, I don't have to have them in something, but I don't care if they're in something. But these did run a little long.
It was also important for us to see or to know that certain characters were having sex in those shots. I think it was important to a point to kind of see Alicent just like not really fucking enjoy sex, you know?
Oh God, no.
Like it was important for us as the audience to see her face in that shot.
Could you enjoy it if you're having to keep your head away, you know, so you don't have pustules bursting in your face and nasty infection falling into your mouth? Ugh.
Yes, but seeing her face and how much she's just in misery because of her father and this like political tie together, and like we know that she's not enjoying it. We know that this political intrigue is stressful to her, and to see her face in that moment shined a light on what we got to see next, which was, you know, her father get the position taken away from him that he has. So that stuff's important. It's important for us to see Damien and her in that whorehouse, or not whorehouse, but pleasure house. So that way we kind of got that context. So that was fine. It didn't bother me. What the part that bothered me about this episode was like, okay, Rhaenyra is going to have sex with that guard. That's fine. That's okay. Why did that scene go on for like 5 fucking minutes long? Like, it was a bit much. I was like, is this fucking softcore porn that we're watching now?
It's like fucking Cinemax all of a sudden.
It just went on and on. I was like, okay. I'm just gonna sit here and watch these two have sex for a minute, I guess. Here we go. So that's my only real issue with the sex scenes. But other than that, it was fine. Because that's the thing about Game of Thrones. You know, like if it's in a book, you know, you get the narrator telling you how they feel. If it's a character narrator, but in TV, you have to show that through their face, through the actor's emotion. And as gross as it was for the king to like just be on top of her grinding, and we see like that grossness, it was just as important to know that Alicent was just miserable.
Yeah, so, she was absolutely miserable.
But yeah, I don't know. There's not much else to talk about with this episode. It was mostly like within the family. There wasn't too much outside of the family. We didn't see like that. I don't remember what family that kid was from, but he fucking ran that other guy right through. And I think the other guy was a Baratheon, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know, but yeah, the scene you're referring to with the multiple suitors, he was maybe a 13-year-old kid, and he was of the first men, whatever family that was. I don't know. My Game of Thrones lore is not that well versed. I've only watched the show once. But the other guy was, you know, just making fun of him, and he just disemboweled the dude right there and let him have it. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just, because to me, that's what made Game of Thrones so much fun, was the political intrigue within the families. Like, that to me was more entertaining than most of the stuff that we got to see. So the fact that that was what this episode was just a nice change of pace, if you will. Like I enjoyed it more than the past episodes. And if that's the case, if this show's going to keep building to like be better and better and better, that's great. You know, like something we've talked about online, the problem with watching House of the Dragon is that we know what happens 200 years from now. And the fact that part of that ending is so lame sours anything Game of Thrones comes out with, unfortunately. So there's always that in the back of our mind. So if this show can become its own thing and become its own story that doesn't really tie into what happens in Game of Thrones necessarily, then great. Then I'm all for it. But as of right now, it still has that stigma it needs to move past.
Yeah.
So.
Well, what grade would you give this episode?
An A. Like it's straight up A. It kept my attention to the whole thing, and I wasn't distracted or wanting to look at my phone, so. And really, that's my barometer of like whether it's good or not. So
Nice.
I really enjoy the performances by everybody. One of my issues going into this show is that a lot of the side characters that we've dealt with in past episodes are just kind of stiff. But all the main family members are not stiff. They're great. And so when you let them shine, the show fucking it benefits from that. So
Yeah.
what about you?
I'll give it an A as well. I thought it was a very strong episode. I enjoyed this much more than the prior episode. The prior episode, I was just really upset with just how I never realized that's how a royal hunt actually went. Yeah, there's a lot of pageantry and spectacle and everything, but I never realized that they just hunted it down and then the fucking king rides up and hit it right here and you'll kill it. We've got it. I
You know
was just
why
like,
they used
oh.
to you know why they used to do that in like actual medieval times and whatnot when kings and queens were a thing?
Why is that?
Because it was always dangerous to go on a hunt. You never knew what the animal was going to do.
Well, yeah.
However, it was based on what do you call that? When God determines who's king or queen, divine. It was divine to for whoever was sitting on the throne, and if you wanted forgiveness from any gods for anything, or didn't want to piss off the gods, you let the one who who the god chose. Like that was the entire basis and reason behind it. As for this show, what it's doing, I can't say whether that's the case or not, considering that everything that we know of the Targaryens, like they took control of the kingdom via their dragons.
Yeah.
Like not centuries ago, but a long time before the show starts.
Yeah.
And then even after that, like from Game of Thrones, we know that Robert Baratheon killed the Mad King and took the throne. So that wasn't by divine intervention either, even though they probably would have said something in lieu of that. But
I was reading a thing that j.r.r. Martin was talking about in the first season of Game of Thrones when Robert Baratheon goes on his hunt. It was just who was it? Him, Ned Stark, and like two other guys, and they go on this hunt, and then he brings this kill back. You know, he said he really wanted to show the pageantry and spectacle of an actual royal hunt back then, but in the first season they didn't have the fucking budget for it. Their budget was like $6 million per episode, and they didn't have anywhere near. I think they got what, 30 million an episode for this show or something like that, or
wow,
20 plus million an episode. So they have much more budget to work with, and that's why they were finally able to portray a historically accurate version of a royal hunt. And see, growing up, I always had this idea of it's like, oh, king goes out and does this, and they prove that their prowess. And then now it's just like, I was believing a lie my whole life.
Well, like, and that's exactly why, like, think of like what the lower class serfs and peasants would have heard when Robert Baratheon was ran through by a boar. Like, what would they have heard? So, if Robert dies, they're just, you just go, okay, everybody, so King Robert has passed away from, something that was out of everyone's control, something that everyone could potentially die from. Hey, his son's going to be king. So, yay, let's celebrate that. And you just kind of go with it, like, from that perspective. Because you tell everyone, hey, your king did this. So, like, yeah, when kings would come back, everyone was told, hey, the king's a fucking god. Like, he killed this boar by himself. And so that's why you've heard that growing up. That's why that was always a thing growing up for you. But yeah, I don't know. It is interesting. It is interesting how we get that kind of in our heads growing up and whatnot, right?
Yeah, and it's not even something that you think about, you know, regularly at all. It's just like, well, that's not anything how I imagined that this was always like, and it's weird. It's weird. But the episode itself, I thought it was well done. Give it an A. The acting is stellar across the board throughout the main cast for the was focused on. Really enjoyed it. I'm curious to see how this plays out. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the next episode, and I look forward to House of the Dragon in different ways than I look forward to the Rings of Power. Entirely different reasons, because I'm at the point now where I'm seeking something different from both of them, even though they're both prequels to stories that end in a way I already know how they end. They're both giving me something different, and that's what I'm enjoying.
Yeah, I think you're not wrong in that. I just think that, like, when it comes down to fantasy, take me for example. I'm not like the world's biggest fan of fantasy. I enjoy it. I'm not against it. I'll watch it. I'll play it. Whatever. But like, you give me a choice between sci-fi and fantasy, and I'm gonna go sci-fi every time.
Mm-hmm.
So for fantasy, you really gotta do something real special to keep me there.
Yeah.
And the past 3 episodes of the House of the Dragon weren't doing it. Like, I was paying enough attention to know what the fuck was going on, but it just wasn't as good. Whereas, Rings of Power, every episode has kept me there. Every
Yeah.
episode, I'm like, I'm with it. So I don't know, and it could be that, like I said earlier, it could be the entire reason that uh,
Not being a fan of the ending of the original series,
it's
knowing
not.
where it goes.
That's what's so funny. It's not that I'm not a fan. It's just because, like I said this before when we talked about it, I believe on the podcast. I'm not one of the big haters of the ending of the original Game of Thrones,
No, me neither.
because I saw where the story was going, whereas others didn't. The problem that I have with it, though, is that it was rushed. They could have taken way more time. So
I need to go back and rewatch that series and revisit it again now that it's done, and it's been done for a little over 3 years now, and had time to ruminate on it and like to re-examine it now.
well, because yeah, you and I have talked about how I had to wait. Like, I watched all of season 1 in one lump. Like, I think I caught up. I was 1 through 9. I caught up, and then went to my buddy Andy's house, and because him and his wife were telling me to watch it, and then we watched episode 10 at his house, and I was like, "This show is amazing. This show's great." So that was the only binging I had ever done of Game of Thrones, and going week to week to week to week, season to season, over the course of years, you have a lot of time to think about what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember telling people, like, Daenerys is a hero in the sense that she is freeing people that we deem that would need to be freed. But if you look at it from the other perspective, she's a tyrant.
Absolutely.
And the more, like, when she came to Westeros, she became more and more of a tyrant. Like,
Yeah.
she was slowly getting to that route. So, and I point this out because in season 6, when she gets to Westeros, or it might have been 7, but we start to see that a little bit. And then season 8, she went from like let's say here's the scale of tyrant, right? Here's tyrant. She's like here, and then suddenly in season 8 she's here. Like, that's the problem. And a lot of people didn't see that jump like I did, but some people did. You did. Like we talked about, you saw it coming.
Mm-hmm.
Uh
Oh,
and
it was apparent.
Yeah, it was very apparent. Like they kept mentioning the fucking Mad King over and over and over to let us know, hey, that's her path. It was a lot of foreshadowing on a ton of stuff throughout the show. The problem is that when you foreshadow things for fucking 6-7 years and then just kind of do it in one, it's like it's not as good. It doesn't feel as satisfying.
Mm-hmm. There's an analogy for virginity in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. I could hear you immediately start giggling after I said that, and I was like, yeah, that sounds the same. But that's my point. That's my point about the House of the Dragon, is it has to overcome that stigma, right?
Yeah.
It has to become its own thing. It has to make us as the audience, because it is attached to Game of Thrones, it has to make us forget about season 8 to enjoy this show. And that is a tall fucking order. So, and I feel like this episode was the first time since we started watching it that it felt like it was properly going down the right path of making me forget about season 8. So I just wanted to clarify that for you and for the audience. Like, that's what I mean by that. And when I compare it to Lord of the Rings, it's just because they're both fantasy.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was another superhero comedy show going on right now, I'd sort of compare it to She-Hulk.
Yeah. Speaking of She-Hulk, episode number 5, Mean Green and Straight Poured Into These Jeans.
Is that the name of the episode?
That's the name of the episode.
Wow, I did not catch that. That's funny.
Yeah. This episode sees Titania. She has trademarked the name She-Hulk for a new line of beauty products and clothing, apparently, which angers Jennifer very much. Her boss, Holloway, warns her that she needs to deal with the situation quickly and assigns Mallory Book as her attorney for the case. Nikki and Pug come up with a plan to acquire a superhero outfit it wasn't a superhero outfit, superhero clothing for Jen from Luke Jacobson, a highly exclusive tailor, while Book and Jennifer decide to countersue Titania in hopes of regaining the She-Hulk trademark. By establishing that Jennifer had a pattern of using She-Hulk as her identity in precedence to the trademark being filed. Walters, I don't know why they use her last name. Jen is annoyed to discover that Todd, one of her unsuccessful dates, is also a client at her firm, but this helps her to realize that she can use her dating app history to establish a past record of her identifying as She-Hulk before Titania ever began the trademark. Thanks to her past dates' testimonies, Jen wins the case, and she establishes a tentative friendship with Mallory Book. She later acquires her new customized outfits from Jacobson, who, in that scene, we see the Daredevil helmet.
Which was exciting.
Yellow Daredevil helmet, too.
Yeah. Classic comic book Daredevil. It's really funny to me because this episode didn't have a post-credits scene.
Like yeah, I know.
But I think that's because they really wanted to cement on that Daredevil reveal.
Yeah, I agree.
Other than that, the episode was fine. I think this might, to me, have been the weaker of the episodes so far.
Yeah.
It's less funny.
It wasn't as funny. Well, I was watching it, and Misty, the first thing she said at the end of the episode, she's like, well, the most exciting thing about that was the Daredevil tease. And I was like, you're not wrong.
It wasn't bad. Like it was an enjoyable episode to me, but like the past 4 episodes were just like funny. It had a lot more comedy. But that's okay. You know, not every She-Hulk comic was funny.
No. But yeah, it's like you said, this wasn't a bad episode. It served its purpose. It establishes the rivalry that will essentially grow between She-Hulk and Titania. Hopefully, we actually get to see them throw the fuck down, because Titania has always been one of my favorite. Always liked her.
Antagonist.
She's
Yeah.
she's been one of my favorite female antagonists ever since
Yeah.
Secret Wars back in 1984 and 5.
She's not a villain in the term villain, but she is a constant thorn in fucking in Jennifer's side.
Mm-hmm.
Also, on a side note, you can apparently buy oh no, not yet. People want the Avengers shirt.
Oh, that's funny.
Which it doesn't surprise me, because I think I looked at my dad and I was like, well, Disney's probably going to start selling Avengers shirts.
That would not surprise me in the least.
No, not even a little bit. But yeah, it was fun. It was definitely fun. Like, if I had to give the episode a grade, a B.
Yeah, I agree. I give it a B, but it's not bad. It's just not as funny or amusing as the first 4 episodes have been.
Right, because
And
nothing stands out like
the only thing that stood out was that tease of the Daredevil costume.
Yeah.
And that was literally the last 5 seconds of the fucking episode.
Yeah. I do really like it's Jamila, I think her name is, as Titania.
Mm-hmm.
She's great as Titania, because like that's the thing you have to know about Titania from the comics. She wasn't like, I don't remember how she got her powers at all, but
in the comics, she was actually given her powers by Doctor Doom in the Secret Wars. He created her essentially.
Oh wow, okay. How are they going to do that? How are they going to write that in for the show? Huh. Anyway, I don't want to get too distracted on that thought. It might not matter really, but yeah, she's definitely always tried to be a fashionista. At least as far as I remember. So having her in the show as that is or to the extent of what they're doing is fun. A lot of fun. No complaints on that department, but yeah, I'm just thinking back to the whole episode, and it's just it was good. It wasn't great. It wasn't hilarious. I did find it funny that Jennifer was like, "Yeah, I'll humiliate myself to win this case." Like that's definitely in Jennifer's kind of purview. Like she would do that sort of thing just to get that win. But yeah, like I said before too, I really, really, really hope that Matt's appearance in this show isn't just like some weird one-off where, because they've been talking about it consistently. He was in the mid-season trailer, because that was the thing is Disney had their big D3 event this last weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and they showed off a mid-season trailer for She-Hulk, and there's a whole thing with Matt Murdock at a bar with Jennifer. And she's not in She-Hulk form. So I really, really hope that when Matt shows up proper in the show, there is a court case between them. That Jennifer is defending some fucking villain that Matt's prosecuting. That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know who. Maybe that's how they reveal that the leaders is in the MCU now, because that was one of the big things they revealed at D23 as well. I don't know, but I'm really enjoying the show. It's just this was definitely like a mid-season week episode.
Yeah, and it's the halfway point. We've got 4 more episodes.
Yep.
So hopefully we get a lot more Matt Murdock. Hopefully it's not just one episode appearance. Hopefully he's in all 4 of the last episodes.
I hope. I don't want him in
or
all
at least, or at least 2 or 3.
I hope he's in the last two, and the last two are like a little bit longer. And like the first episode is her running into Daredevil, and then them doing like this thing because there's a shot in that trailer where they are in costume
On a rooftop.
No, it's actually in a different location. But she looks at the camera like it looks like they're looking for clues or something, and she looks at the camera and she's like, he's kind of doing it for me. The setting that they're standing in does not look like the rooftop or any place we've seen so far.
Oh, well, I haven't seen that one.
The other thing is we know that Blonsky is in an episode coming up, but he's sitting at like it looks like he's at a farmhouse or some shit, just sitting on like a rocking chair. So
well, it's it's the ranch property that his 7 soulmates purchased for him.
Yeah, but why is he in the episode? Like, what's the purpose? Like, what is she just checking up on him? Like, we need to know. So that's like, there's a lot that I saw in that midseason trailer for the last 4 episodes, and I really do think that Matt's in the last 2.
I mean, check that out.
He might be in the next episode and then shows up in the last episode as like the prosecutor or the prosecutor, whatever. So maybe that's the whole thing, is that her working for this law firm, she is defending villains. She's defending people who've done something bad. And Matt's like, maybe don't do that. Maybe help the good guys. I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot that the show could go, a lot of directions, but as long as it remains funny, that's the important part to me. But yeah, any other thoughts on She-Hulk before we end it?
No. Enjoyable episode. Just not as much as the prior ones, like you said, but it's setting up what's to come. I'm looking forward to it. Really enjoying the show. The show's solid.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us this week. Next week, it's Rings of Power episode 4, House of Dragon episode 5, and She-Hulk episode 6.
And Andor.
Next week?
Next week. It comes out Wednesday.
I thought it was the 23rd.
21st.
Wait, what? Hold on.
Yeah.
Andor Are you drops. Sure? I thought we had some more time.
Oh, Andor drops Wednesday.
Oh my God. Okay, yeah. The first 3 episodes of Andor on. I need to write that in my notes right now. Jeez Louise. At least it's fucking Wednesday and not Thursday like She-Hulk.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got episode 1, 2, and 3 of Andor. God, we got 4 things to review next week. Jeez Louise. That's the thing, though, is that we're gonna have 4 things for a minute.
Yeah.
For like at least until the end of She-Hulk, and I don't know how long Rings of Power and House of Dragon's gonna go. So.
Yeah. So for at least until mid-October, if not the end of October.
Hachi Machi. Well, there you go. I'm just kind of clearing out my notes here because I like to keep notes for the show. But yeah, so yeah. Rings of Power, House of Dragon, She-Hulk, Andor. Watch those. Join us next week. Make sure you follow all the socials listed below. That's where you'll find us, or that's what will let you know if we add anything to the show. With the current roster, not going to happen. Just letting you know now. But if anything changes, that's what you'll learn, is on our Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, whatever. Make sure that you check out the check out the Teespring store. That's where you'll be able to get a merch for our podcast specifically. If fall's coming up, winter's going to come up after that. That's how the seasons work. I don't know if you knew that. I don't know why I'm describing how seasons work to our listeners. Jesus, Greg. But you can get some warm clothing at the Teespring store with our faces on it. And all the proceeds go right into making the podcast as good as it can possibly be. If you want to check out the live video of today's episode, check out our YouTube channel. I also have a few solo reviews up there, but I really haven't been doing those. I probably should, but I say that every week. If you're looking for more podcasts to listen to, whether it's on your commute or if you're able to listen to podcasts at work, check out the Nerdvana Network. There's tons of fucking shows over there with great people talking about all sorts of stuff that range from the nerdy to the geeky to the whatever. But yeah, that's also where to find our podcast if you're not already listening on whatever service you want. But that's the Nerdvana Network. That is it for my notes. Maya, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Facebook under my name, Maya Dawn Fisher. It's a public profile. It's linked to my Twitter, my Instagram. It's just a one-stop shop for everything that I'm up to if you want to check that out. And where can people find you, Greg?
Chub Rock Geek on all socials. And I think very soon here, I'm going to start streaming Jackbox again on Friday nights. Or Saturday nights. It was Saturday that we did it. The only issue with streaming on Saturday nights is I get off work at 5. I come home. I probably want to get something to eat. So I'm thinking like 6 p.m. my time, which is 9 p.m. your time, and stream for like maybe 3 hours. Play
That's
a little.
It's not a problem for me.
Yeah, So 6 to 9 Pacific time on Saturdays. If anything changes with that, I'll let you know. But as of right now, I'm thinking about doing that because Jackbox Party Pack 9 is coming out very soon, and I'd love to get some people to play that. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys so much for listening. We love that you're here and that you enjoy listening to us talk about what we enjoyed and didn't enjoy about these shows. Always remember, fuck the GOP, fuck the NRA, donate and help where you can. We'll see you next week.
Take care, everybody.